Hello, welcome to Take 10 on Tuesdays with the Tennessee Tribune. I'm Sandra Weaver. I'm the editorial director for the Tribune, and today our guest is State Representative Brenda Gilmore. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm excited because this is our third year that Representative Gilmore and I have had a chance to sit down and talk about what happened in the previous year and what to look forward to in the next year. So our tradition continues, and I also want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Because she is about to start her fifth term as state representative.
Yes.
So
thank you
wonderful.
so much, and I'm delighted to be here and just happy to be doing this again with you because I feel like that we started almost when you came to Nashville.
That's
and
right.
So thank you for coming to Nashville. You've been good
Well,
for Nashville. I hope Nashville's been good to you.
Nashville is being very good to me.
Good.
So
That's
this is
good.
wonderful.
Good.
Well, let's just jump right in and talk about there was a supermajority of Republicans in the legislature this year. So what were some of the major bills, major things that were approved this year through the legislature?
Well, I think, and it's even more of a super majority now than it was the last time I was here.
Oh, okay.
Because as Democrats, we lost one additional seat.
Wow.
Just one this time.
Okay.
And so now we have 26
Democrats.
Mhm,
Okay.
26 Democrats. And I think we saw an ultra conservative agenda, bills that Republicans have wanted to pass for years,
Right.
and because they just didn't have the votes, then they did not get those that kind of legislation passed. Probably the saddest day I think for women is they were able to put the bill concerning abortion back on the agenda. It went in as a referendum,
Right.
and unfortunately, it was known mostly as Amendment 1,
Yes.
and it was the yes votes won.
Yes.
And already we're beginning to see noise that some legislators are forming legislation saying that women have to have an ultrasound and they have to actually look at that picture before they make the decision to have an abortion.
So women have to have an invasive procedure before they can go forward with their own personal decision about their bodies.
Yes, I have not seen the legislation, but the media says that legislation has been filed to that effect. And while I may not say that I am condoning abortions, I do think that women should have the right to make that decision.
Right.
I think that there are some cases such as rape, incest, the mother's health,
Exactly.
when women, their significant other or their spouses and their higher being should make that decision. I don't think we as legislators should be making that decision for women.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we
Right. That was
saw.
one. And then the wine.
Yes,
bill.
wine
So
and
that's-
liquor store. And I think in general, people wanted that. I don't think I had a single person to come up to me and say, Brenda or Representative Gilmore, I don't want wine in the grocery stores. So that went as a referendum.
Okay.
And it passed overwhelmingly.
Right.
Close to 86% of the people said that they wanted to, when they buy their groceries and their milk and their bread, they want to be able to buy their wine.
Right.
So that did pass, and I would say in about a year, the agreement was that it would be a year and a half. So I would say about in the next year, you'll be able to go to any grocery store that chooses and to buy your wine.
Great.
So that was one of the things. We saw another biggie was having to do with the income tax. That went in as a referendum.
Oh.
And then you can just imagine no one is going to vote themselves
Right.
a tax
Exactly.
increase.
Exactly. Right.
But unfortunately, I don't think that we probably should have tied the hands of future legislators. We don't. It is a law, and it's in our Constitution that our budget must always balance in Tennessee.
Right.
But just to say that there's some kind of crises, and we would have to cut services significantly where it began to really, really hurt people, then we would have no other alternative but to increase sales taxes. That's the really only revenue generating that we have here in Tennessee.
And Tennessee now has one of the highest
Exactly.
sales taxes in the country.
Exactly.
So-
And to make it even more complicated, those states that border us
Yes.
have lower sales taxes. So we see a lot of that revenue bleeding
out of
out.
state.
Exactly. So I don't think that was probably a good idea. However, the people have spoken.
Right.
And so we have to live with that until probably years and years from now when we're able to look at it again.
Right. And let's talk about some of the other things that were hot discussions, like arming teachers in the classrooms.
Yes.
And how...
Well, guns have been on the agenda for the last few years since we've had a conservative legislature. The bill that got passed this past year is that teachers can pack. Right. They do have to. They do have to be trained,
and they have to register to say that I'll have a gun on me while I'm teaching the first grade class, or whatever level.
They do, and it is confidential that you don't know which schools teachers are allowed to carry the guns.
So I can't look up and find out which teachers in my child's school district or school is carrying a gun.
Yes, exactly. But teachers can do that. I would say the downside is that teachers will have to be very, very careful. Anytime you have firearms around young people, there's always safety concerns.
Exactly.
Safety concerns. There was a bill that would have allowed people to take guns in park, and fortunately that failed.
Good.
Yes. So now people can still take their families and have a leisure day at the park and don't have to worry about someone's tempers flaring and
pulling out a gun.
Yes.
They miss their target and hit someone in your family.
Exactly. Let's see some of the other things that we talked about. Charter schools have been very, very, very big. Now that has been a progression. At first, of course, Tennessee didn't have any charters. Then we had a cap where you could have the maximum number were 25 charters.
Right.
That cap was lifted 2 years ago. So now we can have any number of charter schools.
Oh, so there's no longer a cap.
No.
Wow.
No. We even talked about them being low performing schools. In fact, that stipulation has been removed as well.
Wow.
As you recall, in Nashville, there was a conversation because there was a charter that wanted to start in the Bell Mead area.
Yes.
And our school board would not allow that because they didn't provide transportation. So it was felt that it would just be for affluent children.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there's been a charter authorizer that got approved this past session, which says if charter application comes before the school board, and if the school board says this is not a good fit for Nashville and turns it down, before those applicants had to go before the school board and ask for appeal. Now there's been an outside kind of overseer or monitor, you might say, the state school board, and they can reverse that decision by the local board.
Oh, really? It's
known as a charter authorizer.
Okay, so we might be in for an interesting discussions and actions in 2015.
I would say that we'll probably see more. We'll probably see more charter schools in 2015 and 2016.
And so, do you feel then our public schools will suffer because there are fewer tax dollars to go to than to the public schools?
Well, I think the prevailing discussion is generally that charter schools remove money from the public schools. And if we could figure out a way to balance that so that if there's a low performing schools, we would not just be taking money from that school, but there's a way to balance it so that we can lift up our low performing public schools at the same time we do charter schools, then I think that would be good for Nashville. I do think though that we really have to look, because in most of our communities, poor communities, communities of color, we have mostly failing schools. And we've got to do something. Education is the great equalizer. We've got to do something so our children will be competitive when they grow.
Do you think that you may present any legislation in 2015 that might address some of the inequities and inequalities in education?
I think that there's going to be a lot of tension on education this coming in session. Two bills that the governor supported that I will say that I'm very proud of. One is the governor's university, where in the past you have to go to a college and take courses even if, say, you're editor.
Yes.
You have experience writing. Well, even though you would have that experience, you wouldn't be able to use it if you went to college. Now you can actually substitute your practical experience for credits.
Oh, really? Great.
So I think that that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
And then the second initiative that the governor had that I really have to commend him for is that every young person in Tennessee can go to a community college or a junior college. We used to call them, yes, the Promise, if they want to, free, absolute free.
That's
and
wonderful.
I think that it is good. And I've been told that African American children do not like to go to community colleges, but we're going to have to change that conversation and encourage our young people to go to community colleges so that they can
take advantage of the free tuition.
Yes, free tuition,
Right.
and they also strengthen themselves.
Right.
So when they transfer to the 4-year college, that they will actually do better academically.
Wow.
And in the Middle Tennessee area, they can actually go to Tennessee State University and Austin Peay and take some of those community courses there.
Oh, really?
Yes, so that's a good thing for TSU.
That's a great thing. Good. Okay. And is there anything else major that you feel passed in 2014? Because I want to talk a little bit about 2015.
Okay. I think virtual schools, we curtailed that. Virtual schools before was just, I guess, a carte blanche where kids, if they didn't want to go into a formal school setting, could stay at home and by computer from pre-K through 12th grade, take everything on computer. Well, we found that that's just not working.
Right.
The students are not doing well, and I suspect that they're not going to be socially balanced in a way doing that.
Because all your time is with the computer.
Exactly, and you're not learning to interact with people. So we did put the clamps down on that. They're not repealed completely, but they can't grow anymore. I think that we saw that. There was something called DU interlock. When people are stopped for drinking and driving. In the past, they lost their license, but now there's a little instrument that actually goes on your steering wheel, and you blow into it when you get into your car.
Really? So if you've been drinking, your car won't start?
Exactly.
Is that the concept?
It will not. It locks it down, and this is to help people so they won't lose their jobs. So I think that this is a good thing. The governor tried to pass vouchers for low performing schools, but one of his persons in his camp actually hijacked that legislation, because the governor's legislation would have been targeted just to low performing schools.
Right.
And this legislator from Memphis actually wanted it to be for all schools.
Oh, I see.
Which we don't think that that's a good idea at all, because that certainly would be private schools using public money.
Exactly.
So that failed.
Right.
And that was a good thing.
Good.
There was some legislation to remove helmets from people riding motorcycles. That failed.
Good.
So we're glad. So in some cases, although I think Democrats may not have been successful in passing legislation, I think that we were successful in keeping bad or harmful things from happening.
Good. All right, let's look a little bit at 2015.
Okay.
And what is on the horizon? I guess there's a discussion about expanding Medicaid and changing that conversation, because the state of Tennessee has been leaving money on the table for the last 3 years. So what may happen in 2015?
Well, I'm excited to say that after much conversation and convincing our governor, that he has come up with a Tennessee plan known as Insure Tennessee. And what it will amount to is an additional 200,000 people will be able to get insurance. So I'm extremely excited about that. Now, it's still about 130 or 150,000 people who will have no insurance at all. So it's far too many.
Right.
If we were to expand Tennessee, then we would to get all of those people, and
Oh,
they would
I
have
see.
they would have insurance.
That would
But
be great.
that would be great. But 200,000 is better than no thousand.
That's
So
true.
so I still have to commend the governor. He still has to get the legislature approval
Mhm.
because last session there was a bill that was passed that was said before he expands Medicaid, he has to come before the General Assembly and it has to be approved. I really
Okay.
feel like though with traditional Republicans and with Democrats that he will have enough votes to clobber together to get the 50 votes to pass.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
That would be good.
Because
Okay.
we've seen rural hospitals have closed as a result of not being able to expand Medicaid,
Mhm.
and people die.
That's not good.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
Probably about 200 people a year just die
Oh,
simply
wow.
because they don't have insurance.
Right.
And in
And they
a
can't get the medical care.
exactly, in a rich country like this, we should never have people just dying
And it
because
shouldn't
they,
be a discussion at all. So.
no.
Yeah.
No, none at all. So that we're being called into special session
Mhm.
just for that.
And special session.
We start January 17th, and then
Okay.
we'll probably have a week or week and a half of a recess.
Mhm.
Then we come back for the special session that will deal just with Medicaid.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it'll probably last a couple of weeks, and then we'll go into our regular session.
Great.
We'll go back into our 109th general session
Mhm.
on January 17th,
Okay.
Tuesday, January 17th.
Great.
Uh-huh.
We will be following you.
Yes.
Is there anything else? I know this is huge for
Mhm.
the state of Tennessee. Is there anything else we should also be on the lookout for at this point?
Well, there are a couple of things that I'm seriously considering. I'm trying to just start the conversation. I'm not sure that I'll be able to move legislation this year, but I certainly think the discussion. One is removing the box. You've heard about that,
Yes.
where people go in for interviews, and once they reveal that they had a felony, although it may be expunged, then the interview, for all practical purposes, is over.
Mhm.
So some states have been successful in passing legislation that says that you can't ask anybody that,
Mhm.
not until you're seriously considering hiring them.
Right.
So I'm beginning to talk with human resource specialists and the chamber. I have a meeting with them next week
Mhm.
to see if we can carve out a compromise to move some legislation like that.
Okay.
Also looking at a piece of legislation, I had a friend or a colleague whose mom was severely depressed.
Mhm.
She got out of the hospital, and the same day she got out of the hospital, she bought a gun and killed herself.
Oh my goodness.
So I want to talk to all people who are interested in what we can do to strengthen background or some kind of notification.
Mhm.
So some kind of red flags will come up
Mhm.
when someone get out of a mental institution.
And yeah, not let that happen again.
Yes.
It's difficult.
You know.
Mental health issues need to be more on the table.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So.
I agree. So I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about continuing to be guns,
Yeah.
a lot of discussion about education, and of course about insurance.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Representative Gilmore. This is a fascinating conversation. We'll be watching to see what legislation ends up getting passed or changed around. So,
All right.
2015 sounds like it's going to be an exciting year.
Well, thank you. Come down to the Capitol anytime.
Okay.
You're welcome. You are welcome to come anytime.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you for joining us.